US and Iran exchanged fire in the Strait of Hormuz on Thursday. Trump said it did not jeopardize a ceasefire but did threaten a harder response. US President Donald Trump said the European Union has until the 4th of July to fully implement its trade deal or it will face higher tariffs. The United States and Iran exchanged fire on Thursday in the Strait of Hormuz. The exchange was a serious test of the ceasefire between Washington and Tehran. Trump, however, claims it did not jeopardize further ceasefire talks, but did threaten to a harder response if Iran does not agree to a deal.
President, after these strikes, is the ceasefire with Iran still on?
Yeah, it is. They trifled with us today. We blew them away. They trifled. I call that a trifle. No, it's going. The talks are going very well, but they have to understand if it doesn't get signed, they're going to have a lot of pain.
The U.S. military said it intercepted attacks on 3 Navy ships in the waterway and responded with self-defense strikes. Iran, on its end, said it fired missiles after the U.S. targeted an Iranian oil tanker. Explosions were reported on Qeshm Island in the city of Bandar Abbas in southern Iran. State-run media said the explosions heard were the result of air defenses intercepting drones. On Monday, Trump had announced a naval operation to help ships pass through Hormuz, but called off the mission shortly after. Washington is now awaiting an Iranian response to a proposal it submitted to end the war and open the strait.
So thank you.
The Trump administration has accused Europe of being an incubator for terrorism, criticizing what it called an immigration crisis plaguing the continent. It marks the latest criticism of Europe by the U.S. government and appeared in its latest counterterrorism strategy report, unveiled on Wednesday. The strategy also focuses on rooting out what it calls violent left-wing extremists, including what it described as, quote, radically pro-transgender groups. The report placed drug cartels in the Americas at the center of Washington's counterterrorism efforts, but despite this, some of the strongest language was reserved for Europe. The administration argued that the longer well-organized hostile groups exploit the continent's open borders, the more alien cultures grow, which would inevitably translate into more terrorism. The White House warned Europe that its so-called globalist policies and ideals must end immediately to halt the declines it claims the continent has been experiencing. U.S. allies in Europe will be alarmed to see themselves in the U.S.'s crosshairs once more as they continue to wade in and out of U.S. President Donald Trump's favor. The previous such report produced by Washington warned that Europe was facing civilizational erasure due to left-wing radicalism.
U.S. President Donald Trump said the European Union has until the 4th of July to fully implement its trade deal or it will face much higher tariffs. Trump made the announcement after a phone call with European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen. It appears to be a deadline extension of the threat made by Trump last Friday when he said tariffs on EU-made cars would be hiked to 25% sometime this week. Under the deal reached last summer, the EU committed to cutting remaining tariffs on U.S. goods. In return, the U.S. agreed to an all-inclusive tariff of 15% on most EU products.
Thank you very much, Mr. President.
The European Parliament and member states are currently negotiating the legislation that would enable the removal of these tariffs. But a round of talks failed this week, as lawmakers want to insert safeguards in case Trump breaches the joint commitments or threatens the bloc's territorial integrity like he did with Greenland. However, von der Leyen remains positive and expressed confidence that the pending legislation would be approved before the deadline.
With the arrival of hot weather, Portugal is once again preparing for the fire season. Every year, fire consumes thousands of hectares, making the country one of the hardest hit in Europe. In Viseu, more than 700 emergency responders from 6 European countries participated in a major international civil protection exercise. Teams from Cyprus, Czechia, Spain, France, Poland and Portugal tested their response to a large-scale, rapidly spreading wildfire. The exercise involved real resources on the ground, day and night operations, and simulated scenarios that included forested areas and residential zones without any risk to the public. In addition to firefighting, the exercise included training in evacuation procedures, support for affected communities, and coordination of national and international resources. Funded by the European Union, the exercise aims to strengthen international cooperation and prepare European countries to respond to increasingly frequent and complex disasters.
Snow cover in Greece's mountains, a vital source of water for communities' agriculture and natural ecosystems during the dry summer months, has declined by more than half over the past 4 decades. This is revealed by a new study by Konstantis Alexopoulos and Ian Willis of the Scott Polar Research Institute at the University of Cambridge. An international team of university researchers used a combination of satellite imagery, climate data, terrain maps, and artificial intelligence to analyze how rising temperatures in the Mediterranean have affected snow cover in Greek mountains. Using a tool called Snow Mapper, the researchers found that snow cover was decreased by 58% over the last 40 years, with the rate of decline accelerating since the beginning of the 21st century. Researchers use satellite images from NASA and ESA missions, but because clouds and shadows often obstruct clear observation, the team employed an artificial intelligence technique, machine learning, to fill in the main gaps. This led to the creation of a tool that provides daily snow cover maps at a 100-meter resolution for 10 of Greece's highest mountain ranges, covering the period from 1984 to 2025. Results showed that Greece is losing its winter snow cover faster than most other mountain ranges, which could have serious consequences for communities, agriculture, and the natural environment. The loss of snow cover from the world's mountains is another important indicator of how climate change continues to put pressure on the natural environment, particularly in countries like Greece. The research team also included scientists from the British Antarctic Survey, the National Observatory of Athens, and the Hellenic Mountain Observatory. Concern is mounting in Cyprus over this year's tourism outlook due to the war in Iran, and initial data showing a significant drop in arrivals in April and the first days of May, ranging from 30 to 40%. Euronews visited Ayia Napa, where the absence of tourists is evident. Business owners say that events in the Middle East have significantly impacted the situation.
The sun is shining, temperatures are around 20 degrees Celsius, the businesses are open, but what's missing is the tourists. We can't say there's nobody here, of course, but locals tell us that they're well down on the figures they had last year.
Tourism business owners in Ayia Napa are seeing a very different picture this May compared to last year's record-breaking season.
Normally it's busy the boats, busy the hotels, busy all the restaurants. At this time, normally all the hotels almost was fully booked last year. Compared to this year, I think so we are lower numbers from last year, about 30 to 40%.
The mayor of Ayia Napa, Christos Zanetou, emphasized that the situation in the Middle East has caused significant damage, but tourists have begun to realize that Cyprus is a safe destination. That is why, as he says, there is now a recovery.
Το 2025 ήταν η καλύτερη τουριστική περίοδος της Κύπρου και ειδικά της Αγίας Νάπας από το 2019. Άρα όταν μιλάμε για αριθμητικές συγκρίσεις πρέπει να το λαμβάνουμε και αυτόν υπόψη. Τις τελευταίες 2 εβδομάδες βλέπουμε μια ανάκαμψη. Θεωρούμε ότι ο κόσμος εμπιστεύεται πλέον την Αγία Νάπα, την Κύπρο, ότι είναι ένας ασφαλής προορισμός και φαίνεται ότι άρχισε το ενδιαφέρον για τις κρατήσεις να ανεβαίνει.
Tourists who have started visiting Cyprus don't seem worried about anything. As they say, they are enjoying the sun, the sea and the beauty of Cyprus.
Byliśmy zdecydowanie tutaj przyjechać już od jakiegoś czasu, chociaż opcji było kilka, ale przede wszystkim temperatura i słońce nas przekonały. No i widoki malarskie, żeby namalować kilka akwarel na pamiątkę.
Some tourists, however, haven't forgotten what's going on in the world right now.
Uns gefällt es hier sehr gut. Leider ist die weltkritische Lage natürlich ein bisschen angespannt und wir hoffen auf einen baldigen Frieden für die ganze Welt.
In May, flights from the UK are operating at 92% capacity.
it's super hypocrisy that they are participating. I mean, they tell that art is beyond the politics, but they are using art as a weapon in hybrid war in Europe. So this is absolutely insane that they are here, and I think no one progressive could accept that.
I'm saying they should have included the US of A in that list of countries excluded, because of the politics of hate and war and all that's been going on now for too long.